don't play with my money, you don't want no beef. Cause I come from the bottom, I come from the streets. When she first saw me, she say, who is that? When a man saw me, he called me a threat. I'm the one that really live with a rap. They ain't never did it, they ain't really.
$1 million an hour. I know it's crazy, right? There's money everywhere. There's money in everything. I want to help you. Start your business today. Come join my royal family. Subscribe to Casino Is the Name. Hey, yo, what's going on right now? You're watching Casino Is the Name. And in this video, well, we're going to really get into the numbers, okay? The topic of this video is, should you pay off your house or should you invest? And this question actually came from one of you guys. Let me see. I wonder which video it was. But this question came from one of you guys. And yeah, there it is. CC said, make a video on paying off house early or investing. So which one is better, okay? Now, a lot of people may tell you different things. It all depends on, I guess, who you follow, what kind of style of investing you're going for, or whatever your comfort zone is, I guess. So I ran the numbers on this, right? So the numbers on this, it's still going to be relative, right? So it's going to be based off of, one, how much you can, how much your interest rate is on your house. Two is how much interest your other investment vehicle may be. And so I looked at, okay, if you were to say, well, I basically used my house, but let's say you had $500 extra, regardless of whatever your mortgage is, whatever, but you had $500 extra dollars. You could either put $500 extra on your house, or you could put $500 extra into an interest-bearing account, say some kind of index fund that's getting 12%. Now, I know you probably don't want to look at what the stocks and what index funds are doing right now because the markets are down, but believe me, they will be back. It is not the end of the stock market. We've gone through all kinds of recessions and whatever else. There are still accounts that have averaged probably 12, 18% or more over an extended period of time, okay? So we were looking at it and we said, all right, well, we have, $500 extra, and we could either put that towards our house or we can put that into, say, an index fund that averages about 12%, and we can look at what that number is over an extended period of time. Now, this analogy is not necessarily an easy one because there are so many other steps that I had to take to really get to, I guess, what I was looking for, even though initially I could easily see it, right? But let's say I took screenshots because I'm not really, I guess I could just put the numbers back in. All right, now, when I said it's relative because it's going to depend on what your interest rates are. So my house, my interest rate is 2.75 on this particular house that I'm in right now. Now my other house is 4.5% interest. Now I got it back, back in the day, this is what the interest rates were. And I could definitely use, well, I could have, I guess, refinanced, but it was a rental property. And anyway, it didn't matter. I just left it how it was. But so this house is at 2.75%. So what I wanted to do was, since we were talking about if it was your home and you were looking to either pay your home off faster or take that extra money and invest. So this is what I did. All right, so I pulled out I have this app called, I don't know what it's called. Let me see what it's called. I don't even know what it's called. But it's basically an app with a bunch of calculators. Oh, financial calculators, okay? So in case you don't know, I am an accountant. So when I was asked this question, I had my own personal beliefs, but I wanted to put it all to the test. I didn't want to kind of just throw answers out there. And remember, there's technically no right or wrong answer depending on your tolerance or what style you want to be in, what style you want to invest. So Dave Ramsey is not wrong. He's going to always tell you, pay the house off. Okay, he's going to tell you get out of all debts, put you an account together with some emergency funds. He's going to tell you to pay it off. he is not wrong. But if somebody else is saying, some other guru is saying, no, that's crazy, put the money in your, in an account that grows interest over time, you'll come out better ahead. They're not necessarily wrong either. It's just going to depend, right? So, but let's just look at it, right? Let's just look at it. And I want you guys to decide what you think I should do. All right, so here we go. Sorry, I was getting a call. All right, my sister. All right, so this is what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to tell you the real numbers here. So if I look at my loan calculator, and I know this video is going to kind of get into the weeds a little. I'm going to kind of try to keep it quick, but this video, I'm going to actually get into real numbers, right? So if I bought my house at 200, I think I refinanced at 223. So 223,000 to a 2.75%, and I held it for 30 years. Now I'm not going to account for taxes and insurance or any of that kind of stuff. Give me 1 second. I need to text this number. Let me text this number. Okay. So hold up. All right, so here we go. All right, so refinanced at 223. So 223,000 at 2.75% for 30 years. Taxes and insurance don't really matter because we're only talking about paying down the principal. And whatever the taxes and insurance are, it wouldn't really matter because it wouldn't go towards paying down the house, paying the house off. All right, so here we go. We're looking at this 2.75% interest at 30 years. And feel free to follow along. Pull you a mortgage calculator up or something like that and take out all the taxes and insurance and all the other kind of stuff. HOA, we won't need to know about PMI. We won't need to know any of that kind of stuff unless you got PMI. But, all right, so just paying down the principal, if we made an extra payment of $500 a month and we calculated that, that would be, it says that the actual monthly payment on $223,000 over 30 years at 2.75% is $910.38. And the extra $500 a month would bring the total payment to $277,236. Let's write that down. Let's write this down. All right, so it'll bring it to $277,236.92. All right. Now, the total interest that you end up paying is $54,236.92. All right. Now that doesn't matter so much, but we still want to know that number. And let me just follow me because you're going to see how I figured out all of this stuff. All right. So $54,236.92. We do want to remember this number. OK, because that's what we actually paid out in interest. All right. Now we saved. Let me see. We paid the house off. We paid the house off early by 163 months. This is a very important number, okay? 163 months. Now, we're looking at 360 months total or 30 years, but we paid it off in 163 months, all right? Well, we still had 163 months left. So, now, if you don't know, but 163 months, I'm going to do it simple, all right? Instead of just trying to put it in your calculator. 360 months is what you were looking at paying it off. You subtract 163 months because that's how much you ended up saving, how many months you had left out of the 360 months. That gives you 197 months. All right? So now you got 197 months that you've paid this extra $500. That's also to be remembered. This is very important. All right? So now we have, okay, where are we? All right, so the interest savings, that's why we remembered the 54,000. So, and I don't know what kind of calculator you have. So let's take out the $500 extra payment. This way, we're going to see what the interest is. Now, mine already told me how much interest you save by paying the extra $500 a month. But in case yours doesn't, it says that the total interest, if you drug the $223,000 at 2.75% out over 30 years with not paying anything extra, it would have costed $327,736.80, which would have been once you subtract the $223,000 from the principal, that would have been, it says $104,736 in interest that you would have paid. All right. So basically, this is the number we're looking at. So if we pay the extra $500 a month, we still have to subtract the $54,000 because we still will pay $54,000 in interest out of the first 197 months in order to save. You'll subtract the $54,000 from the 104, and that would have been a $50,000 savings. $50,000. So you end up saving $50,000 by paying $500 a month extra on your mortgage. So over that 30-year time frame. Now we have to look and see what this number would be if we had. So now we're going to go over to our compound interest calculator. So in our compound interest calculator, we're going to start with nothing. All right. We're going to put no money into it. And we're going to say monthly we deposit $500. So we're starting with no principal amount in our compound interest calculator. If you don't have one, get one. All right. So we're going to start with that. So our monthly deposit is going to be $500. So $500 at what number? I should get on YouTube and see what you guys is, because I ain't even paying no attention. All right, hold on. All right, let me catch up. Let me catch up where you guys might be. All right, so because I wanted to ask you guys a question about something. All right. Oh, wrong video. All right, there we go. Yo, what's good? Southern Comfort, I see you, bro. What's popping? All right, so let me try to block these folks. Okay, there we go. All right, so it's more than one of them. That's crazy. I'm trying to hide this spamming on my channel. All right, so here we go. Now, please get in the comment section. I want to know your opinion. All right. So how many months are we comparing this to? You guys remember all the numbers, right? How many months are we going to say in order to compare the $50,000 of savings? How many months are we going to actually compare that to with our compound interest calculator? You know what? I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, we're going to compare it not to 360 months, not to 163 months. We're going to compare it to the 197 months because that's how long we were putting that $500 towards the house in order to get it paid off, right? So that is $197. 197 months. So we're going to put this extra $500, and which saved us $50,000 or so. So $197. So not dollars. 197 months at a 12% interest rate would be a profit of $310,000. Well, total, because you would have put $98,500 in principal. You would have put in $211,000 in interest, and the house would be, not the house, but the maturity, the total of the principal plus the interest that you gained $211,000 in interest, you would have profited $310,000 and 13 cents. Okay, in that period of time. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky because the argument can be made, well, the house, of course, is paid off. But, and I haven't looked to see how much more you would have paid, how much of this principal would have been paid down, because this would have been over 10 years that you would have been making payments. Maybe somewhere 15, 16 years or something like that. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. But so you would have still had still owed less than, say, $223,000, even if you just drug it out over this period of time. But when we're just looking at what the actual potential savings are, so we're looking at the $50,000 in potential savings as compared to $310,000. Now, I understand you're like, well, the house is paid off and I no longer have a house payment. So now I took it a step further. I said, okay, now what if at this point you still, let's say we looked at it over a 360-month term, because that's technically what we're looking at. Yo, Jen from Andrew, South Carolina, what's popping? What's popping? Hey, I spoke to you on the phone before. So let's say we're going to look at this over a 360-month time frame to get a really good understanding of what we're really looking at. So now we can say that this $277,000 is paid off, right? And because that's the only way to really is to look at it at the 30-year mark, right? Is to really get a good understanding of what we're really talking about. So $277,236 was, well, I'm sorry, that would be the interest and the house. So let's just say, because the inflation would have been the same, because it's the same house. So let's just say $223,000 was, we have the value of the house. We just maintain the same value, but let's just say the house would have been paid off, right? So you have that technically as a value, right? $223,000 versus $310,013. But you would have still had a $50,000 profit not profit, but savings moving forward. But you're already technically behind. You would have either had $310,000 sitting in an account, or you would have had $223,000 paid off in a house. Not to mention that you would have still had over half of the house paid off, because you would have still been paying on the house during that time frame, even though you was still just investing at $500. So this is where it gets really interesting, because the argument can be made that if my mortgage is $910 a month, remember, we're not including taxes and interest and all that. We're just looking at, you no longer have that principal payment. You add that $910 plus the $500, let's say it's $1,400, right? So, because this is what people would say. Well, now I have $1,400 that I can pay per month, right? And we're looking at 163 months that we have to pay on this house now, because it's 197 minus 360 months, because you paid on it 197 months. So you save the 163 months, you subtract that, you still have 163 months that you got to before you would hit the 30-year mark. So you say, okay, but now instead of that 900 going towards my mortgage, I can actually save $1,400 a month. So we put in the compound interest calculator, and let's say they're going to put that same $1,400 now into an interest-bearing account to then grow their money. So you take that $1,400 and you drop it into an interest-bearing account with 12%. With 163 months, that gives you 500 in total. You would have put in total in principal. You would have put in 228,000. Interest would have been 349,000, and you would have had $577,322 right there. Right now, mind you, we can add the $50,000 in savings if you would like. Right, we add the $50,000 in savings plus the 577. Let's just call it 600,000. Let's just not even say 577. Let's just round it up even higher, right? Just to help you understand how big of a difference this is. So in 30 years, you would have 600,000 saved, because you put in the $1,400 a month into that same kind of account, right? Just several years later, but you'll be putting $1,400 a month, and over 163 months, you would have put in $600,000. It would have matured to $600,000. You'd have put in $228,000. Interest would have been $349,000 of profit, and you would have matured to $577,000. Sounds great, right? Sounds pretty good, $600,000. And you have the benefit of a $223,000 house paid off, right? So let's just call it, we can say, okay, you add them up, it's 800 and some thousand. But let's just say it's $900,000 profit, right? Let's just say it's $900,000. Okay, and that would include the house being paid off. Now, we're not accounting inflation, because inflation is going to work on both sides. So, or if we had taken the same the reason why this is got to pay attention to this now, because this way it get tricky. Okay, so now we're taking the same. By the way, I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? I might sound like I'm rambling. All right. So now, if you pay your house early and then you start investing that money, that extra $500, you be at $900,000 in a 30-year time frame, with the house value as well as the same interest-bearing account that you would have used, initially. But now, let's look at the other side. So instead of looking at it how we looked at it before, where we had $310,000 because we invested for 197 months, we'd actually move that number to 360 months because you invested the entire 30 years and you just paid on your house normally. The extra $500 didn't go towards your house. It just went to this account for 30 years and you just paid your mortgage normally. What happens in 30 years? The house gets paid off. Regardless, in both of these scenarios, the house is paid off in 30 years. So that kind of cancels each other out. But let's just say it's $223,000 profit. Well, if a value. Let's say the house, we're not even counting inflation. We're just saying the house is paid off in 30 years. So both had the $223,000 same. Everything is the same. Now, let's look into the calculator, into the compound interest calculator. Remember that, compound interest calculator. And we start with nothing. So principal amount would be 0, put $500 a month, add 360 months at 12%, right? And we calculate. Do y'all calculate to see what mine says? Okay, we're looking at a $600,000 difference in the previous account, because they started at the 198th month mark of the 360 months to go to 360. So because they started so late, the first analogy, even though the house is paid off, the account has roughly $600,000, which brought the total, even though I rounded up, to about $900,000. Okay, so in this other analogy where we just put the money over into the interest-bearing account, from the start, 30 years of it, that $500 at 360 months at 12% total to be $180,000 in principal, which is less than what you would have put in if you were paying $1,400 a month. After you finish paying off your house, but it would have been like $228, I think it said. But in this analogy, the total principal you would have invested would be $180,000. The interest amount, due to time and having the ability to compound over time, ended up the interest is $1.6 million. The maturity is, when you add the 180 plus the 1.6 million, total to be about 1.78 million, right? So let's just say 1.7 million. Now, in the other situation, I'm rounding up, saying, hey, even with everything, let's just round up to 900,000. In this situation, I'm saying we could just round down to 1.7 million, right? We round down to 1.7 million, and we still have remember, the house is still paid off in both situations. So not only do we now have, let's say 1.7 million, we still have to add another 223,000 to that. Let's just round that down to 200,000. Let's just round it down. Let's say in 30 years, the house lost $23,000 in value. Let's just say it's just 200,000. That will put you at $1.9 million of value and a house that's paid off, right? Both situations. Would you want $600,000? Because when I say, well, you could say that. Let's just say $900,000 on this side versus $1.9 million on this side. It's $1 million worth of difference. So this information is worth $1 million easily. This breakdown, this is $1 million breakdown. Like, seriously, like, to have it explained, from this standpoint, right? Like, even me, like as I was going through this, I'm like, oh my God, this is $1 million of difference. And people are thinking they're doing the right thing, right? Because we're told pay your house off early, get out of debt, when we're benefiting in certain ways. Now, remember, interest rates can be different, but there has to be a huge difference of interest rates before these numbers even get close to each other. It's $1 million difference here. You end up putting more money later in life to still get less money by trying to. You can take that $1,400 a month at your 198th month and run it to 360 months, and you'll end up dumping over $228,000 when my $180,000 is still going to. I end up investing less money, but I end up going further because compound interest, is a marvel in itself. And so I got to talking with my cousin, right? He had came by here earlier, and so we were talking. And hold on, gotta hide these users from the channel. Okay, so yeah, that's what we're told, right? So I got to talking with my cousin, and so my cousin, he was over here, and we got to talking and stuff. And I was telling him that the reason why what I'm trying to get across on my channel is so important is because we are behind, right? Because remember, we're looking at 30 years, right? $500 at 30 years. I want to show y'all something. So our ancestors, my ancestors, maybe not everybody's, but some of you guys may not know anything about this, but our ancestors, my ancestors, we went through a lot of oppression. We went through slavery, went through all kind of stuff, right? Discrimination, went through a lot. We just went through a lot, okay? Throughout time. And let's say we were starting, let's say, I don't know, so let's say slavery is 200 years old. Let's just say it's 100 years old. Let's just say it's 100 years old, okay? That means that whatever they may have owned or were going to pass to their children didn't get passed because they didn't own anything, right? So 100 years of oppression, slavery, whatever, it started from zero, okay? Education's terrible, all right? Like books, everything is terrible, right? So we go through all of that. Now, there were other cultures that did not start from so far behind, right? Where they have ancestors and they know they're getting stuff that's been passed along to their family for 500 years. There's families out there like this, right? There's families who've been given stuff from 500 years ago, okay? Now, in a lot of our situations, a lot of us are first generation homeowners, first generation 401k plans, first generation stocks. Like a lot of us are starting with zero, like a large group of us. So on this channel, it's very important for me to get across when I tell people that's a terrible degree to go to school for, or why aren't you focusing on the money, or you work for Verizon, why are you going to school for psychology? Are you planning on being a psychologist? No, just like how people think. If you work for, you're a manager at Winn-Dixie, why are you getting a criminal justice degree if you're not planning on being in law enforcement? Why not get an MBA? Why not get something you can actually use that would benefit your career field? And, people are saying, well, I just find it interesting. We're not at liberty to do what we think is interesting. And I'm about to show you why, okay? I'm about to show you why. So imagine a family. Say you had a great, I don't know how many greats you got to go back for 100 years, but let's say you got a great granddaddy who put $500 in an interest-bearing account, which most of our ancestors didn't know anything about, but put $500 in an interest-bearing account, and you never did anything else with it. Nobody in your family, the money just sat there and it just grew and grew and grew, and you guys kept saying, okay, it's going to keep getting passed along, whatever. And you were talking just $500, right? 100 years ago. So, 100 years I want you to do this. I want you to do all these numbers, right? So you can see. Put 12 months times 100 years and see how many months that is. You should see 1,200 months. And let's say it only grows, let's say it grows at 12%. I'm going to still use the same 12%, okay? I'm going to use 12%. But if it grows at 12% for 1,200 months, I want you to use this. This is compound interest calculator. I don't know if you guys can see it. Use compound interest calculator. Put it in there, hit calculate. You guys know how much that is? Do you have any idea how much money that is? $500 at 12% for 100 years turns into $81 million. $81 million. $500 turns into $81 million. This is your competition. If you said financial competition, this is how severely we are behind. $81 million from 500 just from having ancestral, finances, just from your ancestors. You ain't did nothing for this. Now, if you were to add 500, let's say you added $2 every month to this $500 for 100 years, right? That takes those extra $2 turn $500 from, will take those two extra dollars, take $500, or will take 81. So $500 made 81 million. Adding $2 to that every month for 100 years turned 81 million to $113,868,833. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. That's the interest. The actual amount is $113,871,733.05. That's what it actually turned into. See? That, and now the total principal put in would have been $2,900. Just $2,900. This is the information we don't have, people. This is why we losing. We don't understand the numbers. We didn't do the numbers. Nobody told us the numbers. This is what the numbers are. Now imagine, that was 100 years. There are people 500 years ahead of us. If $500 does that, let's say we go 200 years. We go 2,400 months. We go 200 years. That turns into $500 turns into 13.1. You could say 13.2, but let's say 13.1. Let's round down. $1 billion. $13 billion. That's what $500 does. That's how far we are behind. It's crazy. You guys have no idea what's out there. You guys have no idea. So this has been my focus, financial literacy, things like that. So when somebody did ask me that question, should you pay your house off or should you invest? And remember, we're only looking at if you put the money in, say, an index fund and let the money grow. But if you invest it in your own business, we're not talking about a 12% return. We're talking about a 200% return. We're talking about a 100% return. So if you're doing this, if you're flipping the money, if you're constantly boosting up and not just talking about 12% profit, we're talking about 100% profit. Buying something for $5 and selling it for $10, it's different. Buying something for $5 and selling it for $20, that's quadrupling. That's what big business is doing. How much do you think these iPhones actually cost to create? I promise you, they're making a nice profit off of these devices. I promise you. So, but this is what the reality is, and we're missing it. We're missing it. It's crazy. I do appreciate the question though. The question prompted this video. I appreciate you. Anyway, I need to get up off of here, man. These bots is going crazy on me right now in here. How do I get rid of these things? They going crazy. don't know if y'all can even see them, but I can see them. They're going nuts. Move. Yeah, so, okay, unwanted commercial content or spam. Let's just say it's spam. Report. Okay, cool. But yeah, anyway, let me get up off of here. Right now, we need to like get our lives together. We need to get our lives together, people. You know, I'm here to try to help push the conversation forward, but please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and help me get this message out, man. Anyway, right now you're watching Casino Is the Name. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we out.
Beat me up, Scott. Beat me up, Scott.
Me and her together, we just count it up. Money on my mind, I can't get enough. Don't play with my money, you don't want no beef. Cause I come from the bottom, I come from the street. When she first saw me, she said, who is that? When a man saw me, he called me a threat. I'm the one that really live
$1 an hour. You know, it's crazy, right? There's money everywhere. There's money in everything. I want to help you. Start your business today. Come join my royal family. Subscribe to Casino Is the Name.